Hello, it's Oliver here for the second part of this Gonzaga St. Mary's analysis. This time we're going to look at the St. Mary's offense and the Gonzaga defense. Just to recap, in the first game at Gonzaga, St. Mary's won in a really tight contest, and then in the second game, Gonzaga just blew out St. Mary's, who were at home. So two very different games, and again, because of that, we're going to look at these games a little bit differently, look at different clips. We're going to primarily look at clips from the first game, and then some specific clips from the second game to talk about some specific actions that both teams did. So according to KenPom, Gonzaga had the 26th ranked defense and St. Mary's had the 8th ranked offense. So a little bit of disparity, and you would assume that St. Mary's had the advantage, but it's not as significant as the other way around, where Gonzaga had a significantly better offense than the St. Mary's defense, but still a little bit of a difference. Some points of emphasis. St. Mary's run their offense primarily through Landau in the post, who is their leading scorer and also has the leading usage rate on the team. He can back players down, he throws really good outlet passes to perimeter shooters, he scores quite easily when he's switched on to smaller players, and he's involved in quite a few pick and rolls. St. Mary's as a team, they shoot very few three-point shots. 72% of their points come from either two-point shots or free throws. And because of that, they have the best field goal percentage in the country, just because they're taking those more high percentage shots. They drive a lot. They've got a couple of players, Hermanson and Ford, the other point guard other than Nah. They drive a lot and just really high percentage shots. So as we're saying, the game at St. Mary's was very different than the first game. At St. Mary's, Gonzaga, in terms of their defense, aggressively doubled Landau every time he had possession. They did this in the first game, but they did so far more aggressively in the second game, and because of that, St. Mary's were just kind of pushed out of their regular offense. They had to throw crazy outlet passes, and Gonzaga could scramble to the perimeter, force bad shots. St. Mary's did eventually figure a way out to beat this, but by then the game had already been decided. It was 28-4 after the first 10 minutes, and Gonzaga kind of just cruised to victory after that. So let's go into some video. So we're going to start off with Landau on the post. As I said, he was the leading scorer, and he is the leading usage rate in St. Mary's. He's quite a big guy. As you can see, he's quite a bit bigger than Williams, even though Williams is ducking down. He's just really strong. There he goes off his left hand. In this first game, he scored 26 points, which is quite a drastic difference compared to what he scores in the second game, which we'll get to soon. Then he goes off his left hand. But he had him and Williams from Gonzaga had a really tight contest in all the games. Again, going off his left hand. So, yeah, he's really strong in that position, and because he's strong in that position, St. Mary's can kind of throw all these variables within that setup to create other forms of making points. So here there's a set where they did a few times that they would set up for Landau to score points, including hang on, I was going back to the start, sorry. Number 3, their point guard, would kind of come into the paint, come back out to get the pass. Here he is, goes in, gets the pass. If I just pause it here where he's got the ball, what he's done and what the St. Mary's team have done in general is they've spread the floor, have no one else in the paint. So when now passes this pass, Landau's got good body position in that he's running onto the ball. There's no one in his way. He's going to have a free go at the rim. Just because St. Mary's has spread that floor, they've brought players out, and because of Landau's body position. So now when he throws his ball in, Landau's able to get the easy score. So if we just go back and play that one in real time, it's leading assists in the team now at 8.1, which is obviously quite good over a season. So he comes in, brings the players out. Landau gets good body position, puts himself ahead of the defender, and gets an easy hook. Also, because of his domination in the post, that creates perimeter shooters, easy shots for perimeter shooters. It's going to replay and point something out. Whenever Landau does get the ball in the post, a lot of the perimeter shooters for St. Mary's will start doing some sort of cutting action. So as you see, he gets it here, you'll see that Krebs and Ford here, they're going to do some sort of cutting action, even though it's only minimal, even though it only delays the defenders only just a little bit, still creates a little bit of separation. So there we go, a little bit of separation, pump fake, gets an open 3-point shot. So the same thing here, a little bit of cutting with Ford and Krebs. Doesn't go for it, finds Hermanson, who scores a open 3-point shot. What else they do really well with this post game is they'll put a switch in so that Landau gets switched onto one of the smaller players on Gonzaga, and every time that happens, he just dominates that matchup. So here they'll come out to set a screen, gets switched here. I believe that's onto Melson of Gonzaga. Hopefully I get that name right. Again, sets a screen, again gets switched onto the smaller Gonzaga guard. He has no chance of blocking any of those shots. Comes out again, they're picking on this poor Gonzaga guard over and over again. Who just can't defend him, there's no shot of it. Because of that, there's help defense. That creates an open 3-point shot if we just replay that last one. So the Gonzaga defenders all come and clump in to try and help compensate for that lack of rim defense, but that creates open 3-point shooters. There's one on this close side to the screen, that's Ford, who's open at number 30, but Landau finds Hermanson for the open 3-point shot, and he gets it in. So the other thing I was saying they're doing with their best field goal percentage in the country is they do a lot of driving. If I just replay this service clip, and actually Landau setting screens at the top of the perimeter, and then in this case, that's now driving to the rim, making the Gonzaga defense backpedal. Again, doing the same thing, screen, driving. That looks like the same video, but it's actually not. They just do it quite a lot. Hermanson does it a lot as well. In fact, he does it all the time. He has the second most points per game in the team, and he'll just continually drive such as that all game, like just all the time. He likes to do it from the left-hand side of the perimeter. We're up to our third example here, and it's still in the same game. He'll just go, that time he fakes 2 people out, still gets it in. All from the left-hand side of the perimeter, again, drive. They all look like the same clip, but it's all different clips of him just doing the same thing. So, yeah, it's a really big priority of, especially personnel-wise, of Nah when he does score, and then Hermanson, who's a really good 3-point shooter. If he doesn't get that open 3-point shot, he'll just drive, and he'll get easy layups at the rim. He's also quite big for his position, so that's quite the good strength. This was just a set that I saw that I thought was really good because it worked so well in this first game. It's quite just an isolated point that I just wanted to make. It was such a good play. One of the few good ones they made. Of course, it's in the second half after the lead has already kind of been lost, but it was really good, so I thought I'd chuck it in there. Gonzaga, as I was saying, that Landau was such a good player in that post that he kind of got the best of the Gonzaga defense, especially Williams, who was guarding him most of the time. Williams did have his moments, and I just wanted to play a couple of those just to prove that Landau didn't all have it his own way. Especially when you try and force him onto his right or make him try and turn right, Landau does struggle. So Williams was no slouch in the post. So there Landau's turned left and he's been able to easily just kind of smack it out of his hands. So in the second game, as we were saying at the very start, it's very, you kind of have to analyze it differently from the first game just because of what happened. After the first 10 minutes, it was 24-8 to Gonzaga. And that's not only because of what Gonzaga did offensively, but especially what they did defensively. So what they did is they just aggressively doubled Landau in the post. So in that first game, Landau had his own way, as we've just seen, scoring in the post, outlet passes, switching onto Melson. So this time, anytime he got the ball, Gonzaga would just swarm him. So he gets the ball, everyone just goes, just runs at him. This time, just goes out of bounds. You'll notice that a lot of these examples are in the first quarter. They did it throughout the game, but it was especially effective in this first, 10-minute section. Forces an outlet pass. Gonzaga have to scramble to the defense. Gets it again. Double him. Hachimura is a really good post defender as well, and he's quite big as well, so he can kind of get Landau to throw the ball away. Again, Hachimura on Landau, aggressively double him, scramble to perimeter shooters and force a bad shot, clunks off the rim and get the defensive rebound. Again, all of these are in the first 10 minutes. That time again, double him, clunks off the rim, get the rebound. Just an example from another time of the game, just to say they were doing it the whole time. I'm going to replay that one because it lagged out at the start. So this is later in the first half. Again, double them, and they get a steal. So it was a really strong tactic of what they were trying to do the whole game, Gonzaga. Just aggressively double Landau, especially with Hachimura on him. He was, not only big enough to defend perimeter players, but fast enough to guard perimeter players, but he's also big enough to guard someone down in the post. So to kind of counter this, what SMU did was, as you'll see in those examples that we just showed, Landau was trying to pass it to whoever was open instead of passing it to the guy who gave it to him initially. And the person who gave it to him initially was usually going to be not only open, because his defender was going to be the person who's going to do that help defense. So if we just see some examples here, again, this is in the first quarter. When Landau gets the ball, the person who was guarding their defender is rushed over to help defend, but that's left the person who gave him the ball wide open. So instead of trying to pass it to someone else on the perimeter who may also be open, SMU just started giving it straight back to that initial ball handler. So here we've got that example, and just gives it back and gets an open three. But that's quite simplistic, so they start adding cuts into it. So give it to him, cut to the basket, and get a and one. Again, gives it to him, help defense comes, cut, easy layup, no one else is there because that defender is now guarding Landau. And in this instance, because Gonzaga know that initial ball handler is going to get the ball again, Williams, who is number 3, who's in the center of the top of the paint right now, is coming over to compensate and try and guard that initial ball handler, number 44, but that's left other perimeter players open. So Landau does a really good outlet pass, finds Nah, who gets an open shot. Doesn't go in, but it was wide open. Again, gives it to Landau, finds an open shooter, is able to get it in. So that's kind of what SMU did to kind of counter it. But as you can see, some of these examples, this is only 7 minutes left in the game. It was just too late, and Gonzaga are up by 12 points anyway. So it was all good to kind of come up with a solution, but it was just far too late. So just to kind of recap what we just went through, really strong post game. So not only would just Landau back people down, but he was really good at finding shooters on the perimeter who would do these, just kind of feint cutting actions. They would get them a little bit of separation from their defenders. They would run set plays for him. They would create wide open space in the paint for him to get easy layups. He would get switched on to smaller players, like he got consistently switched on to Nelson from Gonzaga, and they got easy buckets that way as well. They have a lot of drives, so Hermanson drives a lot. Nah, he drives a lot, and those create high percentage shots at the rim. And to counter a lot of this, Gonzaga, they aggressively doubled him in the second game at St. Mary's. St. Mary's couldn't come up with a solution, and when they eventually did, it was just far too late. So this was part 2. There will be part 3, which will look at the output windows from these 2 games to see if we can get any other information or make any other conclusions from them. But from this one, see you later.